I stood in front of my tiny studio apartment mirror, adjusting the intentionally cheap sweater I'd bought from Target. The scratchy material felt strange against my skin, so different from the designer clothes hanging in my real closet across town. But appearances were everything in this charade I'd been maintaining for the past 5 years. My name is Maya Chen, and I'm the secret CEO of Iris Technologies, a $13 million software company that's revolutionizing artificial intelligence applications. But to my family, I'm just their disappointment, the failed artist who never lived up to her potential. My phone buzzed with a text from my sister Jennifer. "Don't be late to Christmas dinner, and please wear something presentable for once." I smiled at the irony. Jennifer, the successful one, had no idea that her entire salary as a senior executive at Morton Digital came from my company's account. I'd acquired Morton through a shell corporation 3 months ago, though the news wouldn't become public until next week. The drive to my parents' suburban home felt longer than usual. Maybe it was the weight of all the secrets I carried, or maybe it was just the dread of another family dinner, filled with subtle jabs and disappointed sighs. As I pulled up in my old Honda Civic, carefully maintained to look exactly as struggling as they expected, I saw Jennifer's new Porsche gleaming in the driveway. "Maya, you're late again," my mother called from the doorway, her voice carrying that familiar note of disapproval. "Jennifer and Richard have been here for an hour already." I stepped inside, inhaling the scent of my mother's traditional Chinese cooking mixed with the pine from the Christmas tree. "Sorry, Mom. The bus was running behind schedule." The bus. Jennifer's voice dripped with disdain as she emerged from the living room, designer dress highlighting her perfectly maintained figure. "Oh, Maya, you're not still taking public transport, are you? Richard and I could help you with a car loan." She gestured to her husband, who was busy typing on his phone. "I have a car," I replied quietly. "It works fine." "That rust bucket? It's embarrassing. You know, there's an entry-level position open in our marketing department. Nothing fancy, but it's better than—" She waved her hand vaguely. "Whatever it is you're doing now." If only she knew that I'd be signing her next paycheck. Our father emerged from his study, barely glancing up from his iPad. "Jennifer's right, Maya. It's time to be practical. You're 32 now. This artistic phase has gone on long enough." I fought back a smile. My artistic phase had generated more revenue last quarter than Morton Digital had seen in the past 3 years. But they didn't know that. To them, I was still the rebellious daughter who dropped out of business school to pursue digital art and web design. They didn't know that those skills had led me to create one of the most innovative AI visualization interfaces in the industry. They didn't know that my freelance work was actually me running a company of over 100 employees. And they certainly didn't know that my tiny apartment was just a front, a carefully maintained deception to keep my real life separate from their judgments. Speaking of work, Jennifer smiled broadly. "I have some exciting news. Morton Digital is expanding our AI division. I've been promoted to Executive Vice President of Operations." My mother clapped in delight. My father actually put down his iPad. "That's wonderful news, honey. See, Maya? That's what happens when you apply yourself properly." I nodded, congratulating my sister while silently reviewing the reorganization plans I'd approved last week. Jennifer's promotion would last exactly 17 days before the merger announcement. Then she'd learn what it really meant to work in AI development. "And that's not all," Jennifer continued, practically glowing. "Richard and I are looking at houses in Oakwood Heights. You know, where all the CEOs live." I did know. I just bought a house there myself, though under my company's name. "That's great," I said softly. I'm happy for you. Oh, don't look so sad, little sister. Jennifer reached over to pat my hand condescendingly. I'm sure your art will work out eventually. Not everyone can be successful in business. Someone has to make things pretty, right? My father shook his head. I still don't understand why you left business school, Maya. You had such potential. Now look at your sister, executive vice president, and you're still living in that tiny apartment, doing freelance work. Actually, I said, feeling a slight spark of defiance, I've been working on some interesting projects lately. There's this new AI visualization system. Please, Jennifer interrupted, rolling her eyes. Leave the real tech talk to the professionals. Making websites for local shops isn't exactly cutting-edge AI development. If she only knew that the revolutionary AI system her team was so excited about implementing was actually my design. I'd sold it to Morton through one of my subsidiaries, knowing they'd jump at the chance to catch up with their competitors. Dinner proceeded as it always did. Jennifer dominated the conversation with stories about her corporate successes. Richard occasionally grunted in agreement while checking his phone. My parents beamed with pride at their successful daughter while shooting concerned glances my way. I pushed my food around the plate, thinking about the merger announcement that would change everything. Part of me wanted to stand up right then and reveal the truth. Imagine their faces if they knew that the failed artist they'd been looking down on for years was actually one of the most successful tech entrepreneurs in the city. But I stayed quiet, just as I had for the past 5 years, because the truth was, their dismissal of my choices had given me something precious. Freedom. Freedom to build something on my own terms, without their expectations or interference. Freedom to prove to myself, not to them, that I could succeed. After dinner, as Jennifer showed off pictures of her new Porsche, my phone buzzed with a message from my actual office. The merger documents were ready for final review. In 1 week, Morton Digital would become a subsidiary of Iris Technologies, and everything would change. Must be nice, I commented softly, looking at Jennifer's car photos. Being so successful. Jennifer's smile was pure condescension. Don't worry, Maya. Not everyone can be a winner in life. At least you're creative. I excused myself early, claiming a freelance deadline. As I drove my carefully maintained old Honda away from their house, I couldn't help but laugh. In exactly 7 days, they would all learn just how creative I could be. But I didn't know then that Jennifer would discover the truth sooner than planned, because that night, she did something that would accelerate everything. She decided to Google her new company's mysterious owner. Later that evening, in my real home, a spacious loft in the city's most exclusive high-rise, I reviewed the merger documents one final time. The terms were clear. Morton Digital would be completely restructured. Most of the executive team would be replaced, including, of course, the newly promoted Executive Vice President of Operations. My phone buzzed again. This time it was a message from Jennifer. Hey sis, quick question. Why does the CEO of Iris Technologies have the same unusual middle name as you? While Mitchell isn't exactly common, I stared at the message for a long time. Then I smiled and typed, Interesting question. Why don't you come by my apartment tomorrow? My real apartment. I'll text you the address. The game was about to end sooner than I'd planned, and honestly, I couldn't wait. The next morning, I stood in my real penthouse apartment, watching the city wake up through floor-to-ceiling windows. My phone showed 3 missed calls from Jennifer, followed by a series of increasingly frantic texts. Maya, what's going on? This can't be right. NSWER, your PHONE. Is this some kind of joke? I knew she'd spent the night digging. Jennifer had always been thorough. It was what made her a decent executive, if not a particularly innovative one. By now, she would have found the carefully hidden traces of my success. Tech conference keynotes under my full name, industry awards, press releases about Iris Technologies' groundbreaking AI developments. The doorman called up, "Ms. Chen, your sister is here. She's quite insistent on coming up. Send her up, James, and maybe have security on standby." Minutes later, my private elevator opened. Jennifer stood there, still in yesterday's clothes, her perfectly maintained appearance showing signs of a sleepless night. What the hell? She stepped into my penthouse, looking around with wild eyes. What is this place? What's going on? Coffee? I offered, gesturing to my kitchen's professional coffee bar. You look like you could use some. Coffee? You want to offer me coffee? Her voice rose hysterically. I just spent all night discovering that my little sister, my struggling artist sister, is actually my boss. I took a sip from my own cup, handcrafted by an Italian artisan. Technically, I'm your boss's boss's boss. But yes, that's the general idea. Jennifer sank onto my Italian leather sofa, her legs seemingly giving out. This isn't possible. You live in that tiny studio apartment. You take the bus. You make websites for local businesses. No, I corrected her gently. I let you believe I live in that apartment. I let you think I take the bus. It was easier than dealing with everyone's opinions about my choices. Easier? She laughed, a slightly hysterical sound. You've been lying to us for years. And now you own Morton Digital? My company? Actually, I own several companies. Morton is just the latest acquisition. I walked to my home office and returned with a tablet, pulling up some files. Here's something you might find interesting. The reorganization plan for Morton after the merger is announced next week. Jennifer snatched the tablet, her face growing paler as she scrolled. You're eliminating my position? Your own sister? I'm eliminating an unnecessary layer of management that's been holding back innovation. The fact that you occupied that position is irrelevant. Irrelevant? She stood up, anger replacing shock. I'm your sister. Now you're my sister, I said quietly. When did family matter to you before? When you were mocking my career choices? When you were belittling my little art projects at every family dinner? That was different. We were trying to help you, to motivate you to do something meaningful with your life. I walked to my office wall, where a series of patents hung in simple frames. You mean something meaningful like developing an AI visualization system that's revolutionizing everything from medical imaging to climate modeling? Something like building a company valued at over $13 million? Something like that? Jennifer stared at the patents, then at me, then back at the patents. But how? When? Remember when I dropped out of business school to study digital art and design? Everyone thought I was throwing my life away. But I saw something none of you could see. The intersection of art and artificial intelligence. While you were all climbing traditional corporate ladders, I was creating something new. And you never told us? Never told me. Would you have listened? I asked softly. Or would you have tried to take control, to make it fit your vision of success, just like you've always done? Jennifer sank back onto the sofa, deflated. Does Mom and Dad know? No, and they won't know until the merger announcement next week. Unless what? Unless you tell them. Which brings us to why I let you discover this now. I sat across from her, meeting her eyes directly. You have a choice to make, Jennifer. Right now. She tensed. What kind of choice? I'm offering you a different position in the restructured company, not executive vice president. You don't have the technical skills for what we really do. But there's a role in client relations that would suit your skills. Similar salary, less authority. You want me to take a demotion? From my own sister? No, I corrected her. I want you to take a position you're actually qualified for, from the CEO of the company that now owns Morton Digital. The fact that I'm your sister is, as I said, irrelevant. Jennifer stood up and walked to the windows, staring out at the city. I could almost see the calculations running behind her eyes. Pride versus practicality, anger versus opportunity. And if I refuse, she asked finally, then you'll receive a generous severance package. And you can explain to Mom and Dad how you lost your job when your latest company was acquired. Your choice. She turned to face me, and for the first time in our adult lives, I saw something new in her eyes. Respect tinged with fear. You've been planning this for years, haven't you? All those family dinners, all those condescending comments about your work. You sat there and took it, knowing all along that you were more successful than any of us. I shrugged. I learned a long time ago that being underestimated can be a superpower. No one watches the failing artist too closely. No one questions where she goes or what she's really working on. They just write her off. And in doing so, they give her complete freedom. Freedom to secretly build an empire, Jennifer muttered. Freedom to build something authentic, I corrected. Something that's truly mine, not shaped by family expectations or outdated definitions of success. Jennifer was quiet for a long time, looking around my penthouse with new eyes, taking in the subtle signs of wealth and power she'd missed in her initial shock. The rare art pieces that doubled as AI interfaces. The seemingly decorative screens that actually displayed real-time data from Iris Global Operations. Why reveal everything now? She asked finally. Why not wait for the public announcement? I smiled slightly. Because despite everything, you're my sister. And I wanted to give you a chance to adjust, to make your choice before everything becomes public. Consider it a Christmas gift. Some gift, she laughed bitterly. You're still firing me. No, I'm offering you a chance to be part of something genuinely innovative, instead of just playing corporate politics. But first, you need to understand something fundamental. The sister you looked down on, the one you pitied and dismissed, she never existed. She was a character I played while building something you couldn't even imagine. Jennifer walked to my coffee bar, helping herself to a cup with slightly shaking hands. And Mom and Dad, are you going to offer them jobs too? Mom and Dad will find out with everyone else next week. Their reaction isn't my concern anymore. They'll be devastated that you kept this from them, that you didn't trust them. I raised an eyebrow. Will they, or will they be devastated that they can't take credit for my success? That they can't pretend they supported me all along? Jennifer flinched, perhaps recognizing the truth in my words. She took a long sip of coffee, then set the cup down carefully. I want to see the job description, she said finally. The real one, not some watered-down version. I picked up my tablet, pulled up the file, and sent it to her phone. Take the day to think about it. But I need your answer by tonight. The merger announcement won't wait. She nodded, gathering her things with as much dignity as she could muster. At the elevator, she turned back. For what it's worth, she said quietly, I'm sorry for how I treated you all these years. I know, I replied. But this isn't about apologies. It's about what happens next. After she left, I stood at my windows again, watching the city below. In 1 week, everything would change. The question was, would my family change with it, or would they cling to their outdated perceptions until it tore us apart completely? My phone buzzed. A message from my CFO. The merger documents were ready for final signature. Things were about to move very quickly now, whether my family was ready or not. I picked up my private phone and typed a message to Jennifer. By the way, that house you're looking at in Oakwood Heights? I own it, but there's a better one 3 doors down. Much better security system. Her response came quickly. Show me the listing. And I've made my decision about the job. I smiled. Maybe there was hope for us after all. The week before the merger announcement felt like walking through a dream. Jennifer had accepted the new position, though not without negotiating hard for additional responsibilities. I had to admit, I was impressed by her adaptability. Within days, she'd already started learning about our AI technology, asking intelligent questions that showed she was finally looking beyond corporate politics to the actual innovation. But the real challenge lay ahead, telling our parents. They're going to be at the merger announcement. Jennifer warned me over coffee in my penthouse. She looked different now, sharper, more focused, the designer clothes replaced by a more practical business suit. Dad's on Morton's board, remember? He has to be there. I nodded, checking my reflection in the window. Today, I wore my CEO clothes, a perfectly tailored Armani suit that cost more than a year's rent in my fake apartment. I know. That's why I arranged for private security. You think they'll make a scene? I think, I said carefully, that they'll do what they always do. Try to take control of the situation. Try to rewrite history to make my success fit their narrative. Jennifer winced. You're probably right. I would have done the same thing a week ago. I looked at my sister, really looked at her. The past week had changed her. The shock of discovering my success had cracked her carefully constructed worldview, forcing her to reevaluate everything she thought she knew about success, about family, about me. You really never suspected? I asked. All those years. She shook her head. You played your part perfectly. The struggling artist, the family disappointment. God, I was so condescending to you. And you just sat there, probably laughing inside. Not laughing. I corrected her. Building. Every dismissive comment, every patronizing offer of help. They just convinced me I'd made the right choice in keeping my success private. My phone buzzed. A reminder that the press conference would start in 2 hours. Time to set the final pieces in motion. The Morton Digital headquarters buzzed with nervous energy. Employees clustered in small groups, whispering about rumors of the merger. Jennifer had kept her word, telling no one about my identity. But speculation ran wild about the mysterious CEO of Iris Technologies. I waited in a private room adjacent to the conference hall, watching through one-way glass as the room filled up. Board members, executives, press, and there, in the front row, my parents. My father sat stiffly in his board member's seat, checking his phone constantly. My mother sat beside him, probably wondering why Jennifer had insisted they attend. Ready? Jennifer appeared at my side, tablet in hand. Almost. I turned to my assistant. Is everything in place? She nodded. Security is briefed. The private exit is clear if needed. And she smiled slightly. We have footage from every angle, just in case you want to preserve their reactions for posterity. At exactly 10 a.m., Morton's current CEO took the stage. He looked uncomfortable, sweating slightly under the lights as he began his prepared speech about exciting changes and new opportunities. My father frowned, probably sensing something was off about his old friend's demeanor. Then came the moment of truth. Ladies and gentlemen, it is my pleasure to introduce the CEO of Iris Technologies, the visionary leader who will be guiding Morton Digital into its next chapter. I stepped through the side door and walked onto the stage. For a moment, there was just confusion in the audience. Then I heard it, my mother's audible gasp, followed by my father's sharp intake of breath. "Good morning," I said into the microphone, my voice calm and assured. "I'm Maya Chen, founder and CEO of Iris Technologies." The room erupted in murmurs. In the front row, my father's face had gone completely white. My mother's hand was pressed to her mouth, her eyes wide with shock. Over the next few weeks, Morton Digital will be fully integrated into Iris Technologies operations. Our combined expertise in AI development and visualization technology will create unprecedented opportunities for innovation. I continued my prepared remarks, outlining the merger details and future plans, all while watching my parents from the corner of my eye. My father seemed frozen in place, his board members' confidence shattered. My mother kept looking between me and Jennifer, who stood professionally at the side of the stage, probably trying to understand when everything she thought she knew about her daughters had changed. After the formal announcement, as reporters shouted questions and cameras flashed, I saw my parents pushing their way toward the stage. Security moved to intercept them, but I held up my hand. It was time to face this. "Maya," my father's voice carried across the now buzzing conference room. "What is the meaning of this?" I turned to him, maintaining my professional demeanor. "The meaning is exactly what I just announced, Dad. Iris Technologies has acquired Morton Digital. The contracts are signed. The deal is done." But you're an artist," my mother stammered. "You make websites." "No, Mom. That's who you thought I was. Who you needed me to be, because you couldn't imagine success looking any different than what you expected." My father's shock was turning to anger. "How dare you go behind our backs, making secret deals, buying companies out from under us? This isn't how family behaves." "Family?" I laughed softly. "Was it family behavior when you dismissed every choice I made? When you treated me like a failure because I didn't follow your prescribed path to success? We were trying to help you." My mother protested. "We just wanted what was best." "What was best for me?" I cut her off. "Or what was best for your image of what a successful daughter should be?" Security was moving closer, responding to the rising tensions. Reporters were watching eagerly, sensing drama beyond the usual corporate merger. "Mr. Chen," my assistant intervened smoothly, "perhaps we could continue this discussion in private? The press is very interested in your daughter's success story." That got through to him. Image, appearance, the things that had always mattered most. He straightened his tie, forced a smile. "Of course," he said tightly. "Maya, shall we discuss this as a family?" I looked at Jennifer, who nodded slightly. "Fine. My office. 1 hour." As security escorted them out, I heard my mother saying to my father, "But how did we not know? All this time." 1 hour later, my family sat in my real office, a space that perfectly represented everything I'd built. Floor-to-ceiling windows overlooked the city. Holographic displays showed real-time data from Iris Global Operations. The patents on the wall told the story of innovation that had nothing to do with their expectations. "Why?" my father asked finally. Why the deception? Why not tell us what you were building? Because you would have tried to control it. I said simply, to shape it into your vision of success. I needed the freedom to build something authentic. By lying to us? My mother's voice shook. Pretending to be struggling while you were. Allah was becoming more successful than you could imagine. I finished for her. Yes, because every time I tried to tell you about my real work, the AI development, the technological innovations, you dismissed it as playing with computers or wasting time on art. We didn't understand, my father admitted reluctantly. You thought success only looked one way, Jennifer interrupted. Like me, the corporate executive following the traditional path. But Maya's way, it's not just successful, it's revolutionary. Our parents turned to her in surprise. You knew about this? Only for the past week, Jennifer said. And it changed everything I thought I knew about success, about Maya. I watched my parents struggle to adjust their worldview. I could almost see them trying to retrofit my success into their narrative. Of course, their daughter was a secret tech mogul. Of course, they had somehow contributed to this. Don't, I said sharply, recognizing the look. Don't try to rewrite history. Don't pretend you supported my choices. This success is mine. I built it despite you, not because of you. But we're your parents, my mother pleaded. Surely now that we know, we can be part of. Part of what? I cut her off. Part of the success. Now that it's proven. Now that it fits your definition of achievement? I stood up, walking to the window. That's not how this works. Then how does it work? My father asked, his voice smaller than I'd ever heard it. I turned back to them. It works like this. I run my company my way. No family interference. No attempts to take credit or control. Jennifer has already accepted these terms in her new position. New position? They looked at Jennifer, who nodded. I work for Maya now, she said simply, because she's not just my sister. She's the most innovative tech leader I've ever met. And I'm lucky she's giving me a chance to be part of it. Our parents sat in stunned silence, perhaps finally realizing just how completely their assumptions about their daughters had been upended. So what now? My mother asked finally. Now, I said, you have a choice. You can accept that your definition of success was too narrow, that your youngest daughter built something remarkable without your help or approval, or you can continue living in denial, trying to force this new reality into your old expectations. And if we choose the first option? My father asked carefully. Then maybe, slowly, we can build a new kind of relationship. One based on who I actually am, not who you wanted me to be. They exchanged looks, decades of certainty crumbling under the weight of undeniable evidence. We need time, my father said finally, to process all this. I nodded. Take all the time you need. I've waited 5 years. I can wait longer. After they left, Jennifer stayed behind. That was intense. It was necessary, I replied. They needed to understand that success doesn't always wear a corporate suit or follow a traditional path. Do you think they'll ever really understand? I looked out at the city, my city, in many ways. Maybe not, but that's not my problem anymore. I'm done hiding my success to make others comfortable. The next morning, I went to my fake studio apartment one last time, packing up the few belongings I kept there for show. As I turned to leave, I saw something that made me smile. An old sketchbook, filled with my early AI visualization designs. The same drawings my family had dismissed as doodles were now worth millions. I took the sketchbook with me, not as a reminder of their dismissal, but as proof that success often looks different than people expect. Sometimes it looks like a failed artist in a tiny apartment, secretly building an empire. Sometimes it looks like a daughter disappointing her parents by following her own path. And sometimes, just sometimes, it looks like the truth finally coming to light, forcing everyone to reconsider what they thought they knew about success, about family, and about the quiet ones they underestimated. I stepped out of the studio for the last time, leaving behind the character I'd played for so long. It was time to be fully, unapologetically myself, the artist who reimagined AI, the dropout who revolutionized tech, the disappointment who built an empire. After all, the best revenge isn't proving others wrong, it's proving yourself right.